Hey, it's Nay. And welcome back to Nay's Little Garden and Home. So, I want to talk about the peppers. I started January 1st and how they are definitely shaping up to tell me around when I should be starting the rest of my peppers. So grab your little drink and a little snack because you know I love to chatter. The first thing I want to start off by saying is that, come on, I'm over here trying to get a seed casing off of this start. Got it. And I didn't break anything. Great stuff. Anyway, the first thing I do want to say is that they do advocate you start your pepper plants about 10 to 12 weeks before your last frost date. That is what they say. You typically want about 6 to 8 weeks of growth of a plant before you put it outside. That is what seems to be what is recommended to be the best amount of growth before it starts to be like they might get root bound or it's going to be too much to keep potting it. And at the end of the day, you don't want the plants to be too big, right? I'm sure there's some scientific evidence to that. However, I do also want to put the disclaimer out there. Plants like pepper plants take forever and a day to sprout. It is the 15th of January when I record this video. And this is what I have in germination for the first set of pepper plants. And these are spicy peppers. Spicy peppers. Depending on the type of pepper plants you are going to attempt to grow will depend on how fast it might sprout. And sometimes things just don't sprout. So for example, I think I put about 3 seeds. I have 100% germinate. It's either 3, max 4. I definitely didn't put 5, but I feel like it was 3 or 4 seeds. This is almost 100. This is 100% germination, or if not almost 100% germination, and everything else has been spotty. Does that mean that nothing else is gonna pop up here? That's not what I'm saying. But it's been 2 weeks. These were started on the 1st of January. It has been 2 weeks since I have started these, and I think 2 days ago I had did a video, maybe 3 days ago, max, where I said I had a couple of things sprouting up. That was like 2 or 3 starts. Now we have double that 3 days later. So 2 weeks of just trying to break the ground of the seed starting is, and I were to start these 12 weeks, which, well, 8 to 10, let's just say I would start, so I have my hot peppers for 10 weeks, but let's say even if I were to start them 12 weeks before my last frost, you are now looking at 9 weeks technically of growth happening, which is still within the realm of the 6 to 8 weeks of growth, right? Because that's only 1 extra week. And something else I do think you should take into consideration is you want to give about 5 to 8 days, 7 days of hardening your plants off. Now, I do have a fan in my little grow tent blowing air, but it's still nothing like the air that they're going to get. So these are fairly somewhat like strong plant like seed starts, because like sometimes, like last year, some of them were weak, they still grew plants, but I'm just saying, like, you want to make them as stocky and strong as you can to give them the best chance of survival. Now, when you're starting things indoors and you're starting extra seeds, you can make the executive decision to go ahead and choose the strongest and best plants. You know, when you go to the greenhouse and you're going to pick out your plants, you're looking for the healthiest looking plants. You don't want anything that looks like it's dying. You don't want anything that's already sprouting pepper plants. If you grab something that already has the flowers for the peppers, you want to snip those off, because you want the plant to grow more before it thinks about ripening fruit. That is agitating to new gardeners sometimes, and I understand that because you just want to grow something. However, for long-term success and more success, you do want to snip that off in the beginning. So if you can grow, let's say, one 4x2 raised bed, and you are just putting peppers and tomatoes, and you're doing the same amount of peppers and the same amount of tomatoes, right? That's 8 square foot, and you're doing the square foot gardening method. That's 4 tomatoes and 4 peppers. Do 2 pepper plants like that. If you really, like, I need to be able to harvest, do 2 pepper plants where you snip off the stuff if you're just buying it at the greenhouse, and 2 pepper plants you can leave. And you're gonna see, because the ones that you leave, they will still grow. I've done this stuff before, and it really just depends, but you're gonna just have more bounty. But if you're gonna start it here, start a few extra, because what's funny is I know a lot of gardeners will tell you, like, plant extra, like put extra seeds to, just in case a seed doesn't pop up. That is obviously depending on where you get your seeds from, but fresh seeds, for the most part, has, I think, about like a 80 to 100% germination rate on average. And so if you need 5 pepper plants and you plant 10 of them, you might mess around and get 10 pepper starts, and you really only needed 5. So do with that what you will, but I also don't want you to do exactly 5 pepper seeds. And goodness forbid you're the one of the few people that have 80 percent germination rate, and 2 of them don't pop up. Now you're mad at me because I told you to start what you needed. So start what makes you feel good. I don't think you need an excess. But if you end up having a little space where you can just throw it somewhere, then start extra. Or you can give it away, start a little extra. Or make it so you can pick the best of the best. Because looking here, this leaf is kind of missing part of its leaf. I'm not sure exactly what happened to that. And so it might not, and it looks a little bit not as, slightly a little thinner than the other ones, so it might not be as strong. So if I go and this one has 0 germination right now, but if they end up popping up, I might not even plant that one out, right? So I'm saying all this to say, from now really starts it. So February 10th is 12 weeks of growth. I do have a polytunnel, and I am intending to get frost fabric. I believe Botanical Interest is having like 50% off of their frost fabric right now. So it's like $40 for it as opposed to almost 80, which is kind of intense. But anyway, I'm saying that. And of course you can get them on Amazon and a bunch of other places. But I'm saying that because if you have some type of polytunnel or low tunnel, and then you go ahead and also put a frost fabric over it, like you take like a milk jug, cut the whole bottom off, put that over your small seedling, like, your 6 to 9 weeks of growth. It's not that big, to be honest. Pepper plants grow very slow. You are gonna probably be okay with those pepper plants, because the thing is, you just don't want them to get too cold. But I'm telling you right now, every time I just put my face, I just moved my jugs, which we'll be starting more jugs soon. I have 7 jugs, so I'm like, I'll just wait for 1 more, so I'll have an even number. And I put my face to it, and it feels a little warmer, like, than the exterior. So it does do stuff. So that's just something to also keep in mind. Anyway, so I have the chocolate hand grenade pepper here, the Jay's pink black, and the Thanos pepper. And it's just interesting to see how long it takes stuff to go ahead and pop up and show me that they want to grow. And this, just for some also backstory to this, I have a grow tent these are being sprouted under, and a heat mat. You want to add anywhere from, 3 to 7 more days of growing potential time if you don't have one or both or any of those things to do that, right? Because the heat mat is raising the temperature of this soil. So, and most people keep their house around 65 to 70 degrees, which is, the soil is going to be cooler than that without the heat mat, right? So it's going to just take longer for the peppers to sprout. So I'm already at 2 weeks, right? You might be at 3 or 4 weeks before you see sprouts. And I don't want you to sit there and a lot of like when they talk about peppers, they'll tell you got to give it about 3 weeks opportunity to grow, like to sprout out of the soil. So that's something I also really want you to keep in mind. I don't want you to come back a week later and be like, these didn't start, let me plant more peppers. Because you might mess around and then have an excessive amount of pepper starts. You get what I'm saying? And separating plants, you have to really take your time. Oh, I do want to say success. It looks like my spinach and lettuce I was gentle enough when I up-potted them, because the other spinach or lettuce the other lettuce I had up-potted that like started withering quite quickly, and they still look pretty good. So, and it's been days since I've up-potted them. So I'm glad about that. I definitely must have just been a little too rough with it. But I saw some people on here say like they will take one of these 6 cell, right? Just to start their seeds and put like 6 or 7 seeds in each cell. So one cell would just be the chocolate hand grenade. Then this would be something else. So they would have 6 different varieties with 6 or 7 plants that could potentially sprout up. And then they've had no qualms about it, separating them. And they've been doing that for years, and the plants grow healthy and fine. Do with that what you will. For me personally, I'm still struggling to learn how to properly separate things, especially as the roots entwine. And I do not separate them at this stage. There are people who will separate them at this stage, or the second they even see the barest hint. There's absolutely no hint of true leaves yet for this. The barest hint of it, then I wait for the true leaves to really pop up. You saw the lettuce, right? Really want them to pop up, and then I'll separate. So then they have an extensive root system, and you really have to take your time with that. For me personally, I just find that to be a little easier, although we'll see how I do it this year, because I'm really trying to hold off. We are less than a month away from 12 weeks. I'm trying to get as close, for those who are new to here, hello. I'm trying to get as close to 12 weeks before my last frost, before I start any more pepper plants. I started my plants extremely early last year, and I had a very good, bountiful harvest of a lot of varieties of things. So it's really what you have space for in your home. And I feel like I've said that multiple times across many videos, but I really want that to hone in for you guys. That's all I really wanted to talk about today. But yeah, 12 weeks we're about to kick it off, because February 10th, February 24th, March 10th, and March 24th are big weeks. Now, the week before that and the week after that, you may see me start more of the same things or different varieties of that same thing. So I have my tomatoes for March 10th. I'm going to tell you right now, there's absolutely no way I'm going to just start tomatoes on March 10th. I started tomatoes, I think, at the end of January last year, and I had some insane, amazing tomatoes. So there is no way I'm gonna do 2 months later and that's it, that's all. I will definitely start some tomatoes at that point, but I'm gonna start more probably at the 10-week mark, and I might get a little antsy and start them around the 12-week mark as well. Because like I said, I started some tomatoes super early. Now, was I stressed in April? Most definitely. Those plants was getting mighty big. And mighty big is like this. And I know some people who are real gardeners that, like, not real, I'm a gardener too, but like been gardening for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. It's like, girl, what are you doing? But they grew fine for me. And I would rather not mess around and start my peppers 8 weeks before my last frost, which is May 5th. So I get varying numbers. When I go on these websites to order stuff, they be like, yeah, April 20th, April 22nd. I'm not using that as my last frost date. That probably is a true last frost date these days, but the soil stays frozen for about 2 weeks. And then it's cold, right? For another week or two, depending on how much sun we actually get. Not even just the temperature, but if the sun is beating down on the soil to keep defrosting it. Now, under my polytunnel, I will have no qualms about planting out some stuff a little early and doing the frost fabric, like I said, and seeing what it do. But I can tell you I did that last year and the year before, and I had bountiful of tomatoes. I really don't have issues growing tomatoes. But anyway, thanks so much for watching this whole video. Let me know how you feel about, like, no, you only want exactly 6 weeks of growth before you go put it outside. Anything more, it's just too big. Do you agree with that? Do you feel like that's a little bit dramatic, especially if you have cultivated the space to handle the bigger plants, right? Let me know down in the comment section, and let's just talk. I mean, you could also say, girl, you're doing too much. This is way too early. But this big my starts right now, crazy, right? 2 weeks later, yikes. So hopefully, please don't forget to hit all the buttons, the like button, the share button, the subscribe button, join the fam. I'm new to this, not yet true to this. I have about 3 years of experience gardening, indoors and then outdoors. Hopefully I see you in my next video. Bye bye.